The Commanders' defense faced 26 targets in coverage, allowing 20 receptions for a 76.9% completion rate, 313 yards at 15.7 yards per reception, YR, 135 yards after catch, YS, 2 touchdowns, TDs, 1 interception, and 2 pass breakups, PBUs. The opposing quarterback achieved a 126.0 NFL passer rating against them. This performance was below average, revealing vulnerabilities and preventing completions, limiting YAC and stopping big plays, such as a longest reception of 69 yards. The high YAC indicates tackling issues or schematic mismatches, particularly against running backs and tight ends. Top performers: Mike Sainristil playing slot cornerback SCB with a grade of 62.3, was targeted 7 times and allowed 5 receptions for 56 yards at 11.2 Y per R, including 17 whack, along with 1 interception and 1 drop. He excelled in slot coverage and contributed to the team's only turnover. Jeremy Reaves at strong safety SS with a grade of 62.2 was targeted once and allowed 1 reception for 14 yards with 5 YAC. He proved effective on limited snaps, demonstrating reliability in deep safety roles. Bobby Wagner, as middle linebacker, MLB, with a grade of 55.1, was targeted 3 times and allowed 3 receptions for 74 yards at 24.7 Y per R, but with 73 YAC highlighting issues on short passes. He maintained a solid base grade despite allowing 1 big play. Weak performers: Marshon Lattimore at right cornerback, RCB, with a grade of 36.2, was targeted 7 times and allowed 4 receptions for 63 yards at 15.8 Y per R, including 4 YAC. He was frequently tested on the boundary and contributed to multiple first downs. Trey Amos, playing left cornerback, LCB, with a grade of 39.6, was targeted 3 times and allowed 2 receptions for 40 yards at 20.0 Y per R with 18 YAC. He struggled in man coverage, permitting chunk plays. Dorrance Armstrong, at right outside linebacker, ROLB, with a grade of 47.7, and Jacob Martin at left outside linebacker, LOLB, with a grade of 49.7, were each targeted once, allowing 9 yards per reception with moderate YAC. They had limited involvement but showed below average efficiency in pass defense. Key matchups and insights: the Commanders struggled against the Atlanta Falcons' key pass catchers, permitting explosive plays through YAC and mismatches. Against Drake London at a right wide receiver, RWR, who had an opponent grade of 91.3, they allowed 8 of 10 targets for 119 yards, 1 touchdown, 19 YAC, and a 43-yard long. The breakdown included Sainristil allowing 2 of 3 for 21 yards with 1 YAC and 1 drop, Lattimore allowing 3 of 3 for 57 yards with 2 YAC and 3 first downs, Amos allowing 1 of 1 for 14 yards with 9 YACs, Armstrong allowing 1 of 1 for 9 yards with 4 YAC, and Martin allowing 1 of 1 for 9 yards with 3 YACs. The insight is that London exploited boundary corners, gaining chunk yards post-catch against Bijan Robinson at halfback HB with an opponent grade of 72.9. They allowed 4 of 5 targets for 106 yards, 86 YAC, a 69-yard long, and no touchdown. The breakdown featured Sainristil allowing 1 of 1 for 17 yards with 14 whack, Reaves allowing 1 of 1 for 14 yards with 5 whack, Wagner allowing 1 of 1 for 69 yards with 65 whack, and Lattimore allowing 1 of 2 for 6 yards with 2 WOC. The insight points to massive WOC on checkdowns, especially Wagner's mismatch, indicating linebackers' speed issues against RBs in space, against Kyle Pitts at tight end right, TE-R, with an opponent grade of 78.4. They allowed 5 of 5 targets for 70 yards, 28 YAC, a 26-yard long, and 1 touchdown. The breakdown included Sainristil allowing 1 of 1 for 3 yards with 0 YAC, then Wagner allowing 1 of 1 for 12 yards with 8 YAC, Martin allowing 1 of 1 for 22 yards with 5 YAC, Amos allowing 1 of 1 for 26 yards with 9 YAC, and Savage allowing 1 of 1 for 7 yards with 6 YAC and 1 TD. The insight reveals a perfect completion rate, with seam routes exploiting safeties and linebackers, LBs, and Amos and Martin permitting vertical gains. Other notable matchups: against Darnell Mooney at left wide receiver, LWR with an opponent grade of 57.1, they allowed 1 of 3 targets for 15 yards with 2 YAC, covered by Sainristil, who allowed 1 of 1 for 15 yards. Against Casey Washington at LWR with an opponent grade of 56.2, they allowed 1 of 2 targets for 19 yards with 0 YAC, covered by Martin, who allowed 1 of 1 for 19 yards. Against Ray McCloud III at slot wide receiver, SLWR, with an opponent grade of 38.8, they allowed 1 of 2 targets for -7 yards with 0 YAC and 1 PBU, covered by Wagner, who allowed 1 of 1 for -7 yards, and Lattimore, who allowed 0 of 1 with 1 PBU. Overall insights. Overall, the secondary, especially outside cornerbacks, CBS and LBS, were exploited in man coverage and on short routes, resulting in high YAC and 14 total first downs. Improvements in tackling and matchup adjustments could address these issues. Atlanta's pass percentage was 42.2%, yielding a plus 0.69. Expected points added EPA per pass, indicating highly efficient aerial production. Washington's pass defense struggled, allowing 11.4 YPP and 25.0% quarterback pressure rate, 7 pressures, 1 sack at 3.6% sack rate. Time to throw, TTT, was 2.62 seconds with blitzes on 28.6% of plays, but it yielded 144 yards after catch, YAC at plus 44 YAC over expected YACOE. Average separation was 3.6 yards, suggesting tight coverage but poor tackling post-catch. Key Falcons contributors included Penix Jr., who orchestrated drives such as a quick 76-yard, 2-play touchdown in the third quarter, while London and Pitts exploited mismatches for scores. On the Commanders' side, pass defenders like Tarheeb Still, defensive back DB, led with 30 coverage snaps, allowing 9 yards on 2 targets at a 50% catch rate and minus 13.1%. Completion percentage over expected CPOE. Derwin James, DB, allowed 23 yards on 3 targets at a 100% catch rate. The unit forced no interceptions, with a collective negative 0.8 EPA on coverage. Atlanta's rushing offense posted 128 yards on 37 attempts at 3.5 yards per play, YPP, with 2 rushing touchdowns, TDs, a 14-yard run by Bijan Robinson, and a 15-yard run by Tyler Allgeier. The run percentage was 57.8%, but EPA per rush was minus 0.07, showing moderate efficiency with minus 25 rush yards over expected RYOE at minus 0.74 RYOE per attempt. Washington's run defense allowed 3.5 yards per play, with 4 runs of 10-plus yards and an 18.9% stuff rate. Yards before contact per attempt was negative 0.69, indicating strong initial disruption, but yards after contact was 4.23, reflecting poor tackling. Runs were distributed as inside, 21.6%, outside, 70.3%, in light boxes, 32.4%, and stacked boxes, 13.5%. But overall, RYOE was negative for Atlanta. Key Falcons included Robinson and Allgeier, who powered the ground game, with Allgeier's 15-yard score highlighting burst through gaps. Falcons' offense standouts included Penix Jr. for efficient passing and multiple touchdowns, TDS, Robinson for a rushing TD and consistent gains, Allgeier for a rushing touchdown, and London/Pitts for receiving touchdowns. Parker Romo added field goals, FGs of 38 yards and 26 yards to sustain leads. Commanders' defense standouts featured Bobby Wagner, LB with high tackles, not specified in game but led season, LB in pass rush with 25 snaps and 5.0% quarterback pressure, QBP rate, Darren Payne, DL with pressures. Weaknesses appeared in the secondary, allowing 7.5 yards after catch per reception, YAC per reception, and limited sacks, 1 total. Both sides had 1 turnover, with Falcons penalties at 5 for 45 yards and Commanders at 6 for 50 yards, aiding Atlanta drives. Notable plays included the Falcons' third-quarter surge with 14 points, featuring a quick TD drive, and the Commanders' late 42-yard field goal narrowing it to 34-27. But their defense couldn't stop a 69-yard, 14-play FG drive by Atlanta. Overall assessment: the Commanders' defense ranked poorly entering the game, allowing 22.8 points per game season to date, and ranking 18th in this matchup exposed ongoing issues. High yards per play, YPP, at 6.8, positive EPA per play at plus 0.25 for the opponent, and inability to contain big plays with 4 touchdowns, TDs, allowed. The Falcons' balanced offense, 42% pass, 58% run, overwhelmed Washington's unit, which generated pressure at 25% quarterback pressure, QBP, but failed in coverage, and tackling at plus 44 yards after catch, over expected, YACOE. Atlanta's red zone efficiency was 4 out of 6, decisive in the 34-27 win. For future improvements, the Commanders need better secondary depth and run-stop consistency. The Falcons' offense demonstrated versatility under head coach Raheem Morris. Commanders' defense strengths: run defense showed high grades for key players like Bobby Wagner, 78.3, and Marshon Lattimore, 78.2, aligning with limiting the Falcons to 128 rushing yards on 37 attempts at 3.5 yards per carry, YPC. Stops were effective, such as Wagner with 2 stops and Frankie Luvu with 4, but 2 rushing touchdowns, TDS, allowed indicated goal line vulnerabilities. Interior pressure from players like Javon Kinlaw, 66.6 pass rush grade, and Dorrance Armstrong, 57.9, contributed to occasional disruptions, holding Falcons quarterback QB Michael Penix to 1 sack. Commanders' defense weaknesses: pass coverage had low grades for cornerbacks, CBS Trey Amos, 36.6, and Marshon Lattimore, 36.2, reflecting struggles that allowed 313 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, TDS. Lattimore gave up 4 receptions for 63 yards, Amos 2 for 40, slot cornerback, CB. Mike Sainristil, 62.3, was better, but still allowed 5 out of 7 for 56 yards. Linebacker, LB Bobby Wagner, 55.1, permitted 3 out of 3 for 74 yards with 73 yards after catch, YAC, likely on running back, RB. Bijan Robinson's 106 receiving yards. Pass rush had moderate output with 8 total pressures, 1 sack, 1 hit, 6 hurries, failing to disrupt Penix. 20 out of 26, 126.0 rating. Frankie Luvu led with a 73.5 grade in the sack, but overall win rate was low, such as 12.5% for Armstrong. Matchup versus Falcons offense. The Falcons posted 441 total yards, 313 pass, 128 rush, exploiting the Commanders' secondary with wide receiver W.R. Drake London, 8 receptions for 110 yards, 1 TD, and tight end T.A. Kyle Pitts 5 for 70, 1 TD. Robinson's dual threat ability, 75 rush yards, 106 receiving, targeted linebacker LB coverage gaps. The Commanders' 1 interception, INT, helped, but inability to pressure Penix or cover deep, longest pass, 69 yards, led to 34 points allowed. Grades suggest run defense contained the Falcons' ground game. Bijan Robinson, 17, carries for 75 yards and 1 touchdown. Tyler Allgeier, 16 for 51 and 1 touchdown pass, but pass defense mismatches enabled a career day for Penix. Additional player notes. Frankie Luvu was the only Commanders defender to record multiple pressures and the only one to register a sack against quarterback Michael Penix Jr. and the Falcons. Luvu blitzed only 6 times during the game. The Commanders' defense struggled to generate pressure without extra rushers, finishing with just 3 pressures and 0 sacks on 20 dropbacks at a 15.0% pressure rate. The unit blitzed Penix 8 times overall at a 28.6% blitz rate, generating 4 pressures and their lone sack at a 50.0% pressure rate. Mike Sainristil, cornerback, has aligned in the slot on 60.2% of snaps this season, a shift from 82.6% at wide cornerback during his 2024 rookie season. Through 4 games, he's allowed 16 receptions for 227 yards, 2 touchdowns, TDS, and 1 interception, INT, the second most yards among slot cornerbacks. For comparison, Giants slot cornerback Andrew Phillips has allowed just 3 more yards in coverage, but on 8 more receptions. Last season, Sainristil faced the 4th most targets, 102, and allowed the 6th most yards, 819, in coverage. The Falcons' offense through 4 games leads the league in total yards per game at 362.8 with a balanced attack featuring a 51.9% pass rate. However, their scoring efficiency is middling at 19.0 points per game, PPG, reflected in negative expected points, added EPA metrics of negative 0.06 per play overall, suggesting high volume but below average value added per snap. The Commanders' defense, also after 4 games with a 2-2 record, ranks 24th in total yards, allowed at 356.0 yards per game, and 18th in points allowed at 22.8 points per game. They struggle against the pass, but are stouter versus the run and excel on third downs. Passing matchup. The Falcons' passing offense averages 222.3 yards per game, with 6.6 yards per pass, 3 touchdowns, negative 0.09 EPA per pass, a 3.7% sack rate, and a 32.2% quarterback pressure rate allowed. They average 2.70 seconds to throw and generate, plus 117 yards after catch, YAC, over expected. The Commanders' passing defense allows 248.5 yards per game, ranking 27th with 7.5 net yards per attempt, 7 passing touchdowns allowed, and only 1 interception, INT. Their weak secondary has yielded high completion rates at 61.0% and explosive plays. Analysis shows an advantage to the Falcons as the Commanders' poor pass defense with high yards and TDs allowed plus low turnovers forced could be exploited, especially with the Falcons' solid YAC production. However, the Falcons' negative EPA suggests inefficiency. If pressured, given the Commanders have a moderate pass rush with about 2 sacks per game from leaders like Darren Payne, turnovers could rise. Rushing matchup. The Falcons' rushing offense averages 136.5 yards per game with 4.3 yards per play, 4 touchdowns, negative 0.04 EPA per rush, a 42.5% success rate, plus 0.2 rushing yards over expected, RYOE per attempt, and a 15.0% stuffed rate. The Commanders' rushing defense allows 107.5 YPG, ranking 14th, with 3.6 yards per attempt YPA and 3 rushing TDS allowed. Analysis indicates a slight advantage to the Falcons, as their efficient ground game with positive RYOE and low stuffed percentage faces a solid but not elite run defense. The Falcons could control the clock with a 48.1% run rate, forcing the Commanders into pass-heavy situations where their defense weakens. Key factors. Efficiency versus volume is key, as the Falcons generate yards but score low with 7 total touchdowns. The Commanders allow scores on 39.5% of drives, but limit third down conversions to 33.3%, ranking 6th, and red zone TDS to 60.0%, ranking 15th. So the Falcons must improve red zone execution. Turnovers and pressure matter, with the Commanders having forced only 1 takeaway and the Falcons' low sack rate of 3.7% potentially helping if they protect the quarterback. Overall edge goes to the Falcons' offense, which should perform above average, potentially gaining 350-plus yards and 20 to 24 points by exploiting pass vulnerabilities while maintaining balance. Metric comparison. The Falcons' offense averages 362.8 total YPG compared to the Commanders' defense, allowing 356.0, giving an advantage to the Falcons. For pass YPG, the Falcons have 222.3 versus the Commanders, allowing 248.5 advantage Falcons. Rush YPG shows Falcons at 136.5 against Commanders, allowing 107.5 advantage Falcons. PPG for Falcons is 19.0, while Commanders allow 22.8 PPG. Advantage Commanders. Yards per play, YPP for Falcons, is 5.5 versus Commanders, allowing 5.7. Advantage Falcons. Falcons rushing overview. The Falcons' rushing attack contributed 128 yards and 2 touchdowns on 37 attempts for 3.5 yards per carry, YPC. This performance was solid but below the Falcons' season average through 4 games of 136.5 yards per game and 4.3 yards per carry. The Commanders' defense, which had allowed an average of 107.5 rushing YPG entering the matchup, gave up more than their norm, indicating a favorable outing for Atlanta's rushers, despite some inefficiencies highlighted in advanced metrics. Key performers included Bijan Robinson as a running back, RB, with 17 carries for 75 yards at 4.4 YPC, 1 TD, a long of 14 yards, and 1 fumble not lost. Robinson led up the team in rushing yards and scored a 14-yard touchdown, showing burst and vision, but with room for improvement. Tyler Allgeier as RB had 16 carries for 51 yards at 3.2 YPC, 1 touchdown, a long of 19 yards, and 0 fumbles. Allgeier provided complimentary physical running, including a 15-yard touchdown, but struggled for efficiency. The duo of Robinson and Allgeier handled the bulk of the workload with 33 carries, combining for both scores and forcing the Commanders to respect the ground game, which opened up the passing attack where Penix threw for 313 yards and 2 touchdowns. Advanced metrics insights. Using next-gen stats, NGS, and the provided glossary, RYOE was negative across the board, with Robinson at -12, Allgeier at -13, and Penix at -1, suggesting the Commanders' defense limited gains relative to expected yards based on blocking, down and distance, and defender positioning. Expected yards were 87 for Robinson and 64 for Allgeier, but actual outputs fell short, pointing to effective tackling or penetration by Washington. EPA showed Robinson at -0.5 and Allgeier at -3.1 with negative rush EPA, indicating their carries did not add value in terms of scoring probability, while Penix at +1.1 provided a slight positive likely from situational gains. Success rate had Robinson achieving positive EPA on 52.9% of carries above average, while Allgeier at 18.8% and Penix at 25.0% lagged, reflecting inconsistent blocking or run fits against the Commanders. Yards after contact, YACO, was high for both RBs, with Robinson at 4.4 per attempt and Allgeier at 5.1, showing elusiveness and power once engaged, suggesting the Commanders got to the point of attack but struggled to finish tackles. Stacked box rate was low, with Robinson at 17.6% and Allgeier at 12.5%, meaning Washington rarely loaded 8+ defenders, possibly due to respecting the pass threat, which favored Atlanta, but highlights underperformance despite lighter fronts. Speed metrics showed both RBs with 2 runs reaching 15+ miles per hour MPM and none at 20+ MPA, indicating good acceleration but no elite breakaways, while Penix had 1 such run. Overall, the metrics reveal a grinded-out effort where the Falcons overcame subpar efficiency through volume and red zone success, but the Commanders' defense disrupted expected production. Comparison to season averages. Through 4 games, Atlanta ranks 7th in the NFL with 136.5 rushing YPG. This game's 128 yards was close, but the 3.5 YPC dipped below their 4.3 season mark, suggesting the Commanders' front ranked mid-tier, allowing 3.64 YPC overall, posed a tougher challenge. Washington ranks poorly, allowing 430 yards through 4 games at about 107.5 YPG, but held Atlanta to below their offensive average in efficiency. This game inflated their allowed totals, exposing vulnerabilities against balanced attacks like Atlanta's RB tandem. The Falcons' rushers exploited Washington's weaknesses for key scores, contributing to the win, but advanced stats indicate room for better execution in future matchups. Bijan Robinson's rushing performance. Next, Gen Stats breaks down rushing performance by direction. Robinson accounted for the bulk of the workload, contributing significantly to the team's success with explosive plays and elusiveness. Robinson's stats reflect a versatile usage, with a focus on left side runs, but his lone touchdown coming on the right. He averaged 4.4 yards per attempt overall, with strong efficiency after contact at 3.65 yards after contact per attempt, YCOA, and 5 missed tackles forced, MTF, aligning with his season-long elusiveness. Through 4 weeks, he has forced 13 missed tackles league-wide, ranking 4th among running backs. His 14-yard touchdown run in the second quarter, breaking tackles and spinning into the end zone, was a highlight, marking his first rushing score of 2025 and helping Atlanta build a lead. Key insights from Robinson's performance include left side dominance, where 13 of his 17 attempts, 76%, went left from left end through middle left, yielding 46 yards at 3.5 YPA, with the left guard, LG, being the most productive gap at 29 yards on 6 carries, including an 11-yard gain. This suggests effective blocking from the left offensive line, though YPA dipped at left tackle LT and ML due to stuffed runs. Explosive right side play occurred despite fewer attempts right, 3 total, with middle right, MR, delivering the game's highlight. A 14-yard touchdown with 10 yards after contact, YCO, and 2 MTF, showcasing Robinson's vision and spin moves. Regarding elusiveness and contact, 82% of his yards, 62 out of 75, came after contact, underlining his tackle-breaking ability, though a fumble at ML highlights ball security issues. Limited edges were noted with no attempts at right tackle, RT, or right end, RE, possibly due to scheme or Washington's edge defense strength. Through 4 weeks, Robinson has 314 rushing yards, ranking 5th among RBs, and remains on pace for a breakout season, potentially eclipsing 1,400 yards if trends continue. Team rushing totals breakdown. The Falcons' collective ground game was balanced, but leaned slightly left, generating 8 rushing first downs, 1 ST, compared to Washington's 6 and forcing 12 missed tackles overall. This includes contributions from backup Tyler Allgeier, likely the other touchdown, and Penix's scrambles, with 2 scores on the right side. The team's 3.5 YPA reflects a grinded-out approach against a Commanders' defense missing key players. The detailed breakdown by direction shows left end, LE, with 5 attempts, ATT for 11 yards at 2.2 YPA, left guard, LG, with 6 ATT for 22 yards at 3.7, YPA 29 YCO at 4.83 YCO/A, 3 MTF, left tackle LT with 7 ATT for 32 yards at 4.6 YPA, 28 YCO at 4.00 YCO/A, middle left ML with 7 ATT for 1 yard at 0.3 YPA, 7 YCO at 1.00 YCO per A, 2 MTF, middle right MR with 4 ATT for 15 yards at 3.8 YPA, 18 YCO at 4.50 YCO/A, 3 MTF, right guard RG with 3 ATT for 19 yards at 6.3 YPA, 1 TD, 1 first, 110 plus, 19 YCO at 6.33 YCO/A, 2 MTF, right tackle RT with 4 ATT for 26 yards at 6.5, YPA 1 TD, 2 first, 110 plus, 22 YCO at 5.50, YCO/A, LNG of 15 yards, right end RE with 3 ATT for -3 yards at -1.0 YPA. Key insights from the team performance include left side volume but right side efficiency, with 25 attempts left from LE through ML for 66 yards at 2.6 YPA, but right gaps from MR through RE averaged 4.0 YPA with both TD, including a 19-yard LNG at LG. Yeah, likely all gyres. Struggles up the middle and edges were evident as ML had low YPA at 0.3 with the team's fumble, while RE yielded negatives, indicating clock-killing kneels and poor perimeter blocking. NFL route chart analysis. The routes include a mix of short, intermediate, and deep patterns, such as curls, slants, and posts, with after-catch yardage shown extending beyond the reception point. The touchdown appears to be on a route breaking toward the sideline. This performance marked London's first TD of the season. Overall, it demonstrates a strong outing, with London converting 80% of his targets into catches and generating explosive plays. The paths illustrate a balanced attack, with runs distributed to both sides of the field, some hitting gaps between the tackles for short gains, others bouncing outside for bigger chunks. Notably, Robinson evaded defenders effectively on several plays, aligning with his career-high top speed of 21.85 miles per hour recorded on a 69-yard reception during the game, not shown in the carry chart as it focuses on rushes. Game context and performance highlights. The Falcons' offense leaned on play action and misdirection to exploit Washington's shorthanded defense, which was missing starter Jaden Daniels. Despite the negative RYOE, Robinson's touchdown and explosive plays were pivotal in building an early lead, including a strong start where he racked up 19 yards on the opening drive, though it ended in a field goal. NFL pass chart analysis. The performance showcased Penix's growth in his 7th career start, with career highs in passing yards and a notable efficiency boost. Key stats from the chart: completion percentage over expected, CPOE, plus 7.7%, indicating he outperformed expectations based on factors like receiver separation and defensive pressure. The chart visualizes Penix's passing attempts on a field diagram. Green circles, completed passes, majority short to intermediate, clustered left and middle for quick releases. Blue circles, touchdown completions, one short middle slant, another intermediate right sideline route. White circles, incomplete passes, scattered, including overthrows on deeper attempts. Red circle, interception, a deep left sideline ball, likely underthrown or misread coverage. The distribution highlights a balanced attack, short dumps and screens for high percentage gains, mixed with explosive downfield shots. Notable trajectories include a long arc to the right, possibly the 69-yard completion to Bijan Robinson, featuring significant yards after catch, and several play-action fakes, enabling intermediate crossers. The interception appears on a riskier deep attempt, but overall, Penix demonstrated poise, with plus 19.6 total EPA and plus 0.70 EPA per dropback, second among Week 4 QBs. He connected with 6 different receivers, emphasizing the Falcons' improved offensive cohesion. Game context and performance highlights. Penix's outing was pivotal in the Falcons' offensive explosion, totaling 435 yards, their season high, and scoring on 6 of 9 possessions. Key moments included a 43-yard deep pass to Drake London in the second quarter, his longest air yards throw, the 69-yard swing pass to Bijan Robinson to open the second half, setting up a 7-yard touchdown to Kyle Pitts' first score since the prior season, a 5-yard touchdown to London in the first quarter, ending a scoring drought. Despite the interception described as a lousy throw but isolated, Penix posted a 126 passer rating and 0.67 EPA per dropback, earning praise for resilience. Head coach Raheem Morris awarded him a game ball, calling him unshakable and noting that this kid is unshakable. He's going to win a lot of games for us. Teammates echoed this. Drake London said, "That's who he is. He's a gamer," while Bijan Robinson highlighted their connection. The Falcons' strategy leaned on to play action and misdirection against a Commanders defense starting Marcus Mariota, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, with Penix scrambling for a key first down. This performance addressed prior concerns, boosting confidence as Atlanta eyes tougher matchups post-bye. For video highlights, check NFL or Falcons channels. NFL Defensive Stats Overview, Week 5, 2025. The provided performance notes from the 2025 National Football League NFL season, dated September 30th, 2025, primarily highlight the Washington Commanders defense, although one snippet references the Los Angeles Chargers, despite featuring the Commanders header and logo, suggesting a possible labeling error or source mismatch. Missed tackles analysis. The defense has a 16.0% missed tackle rate this season, which ranks as the second highest in the NFL, National Football League. On an individual basis, 13 different defenders have missed multiple tackles, tying with the Dallas Cowboys for the most in the league. Notably, Derwin James has missed 5 tackles so far this season, compared to only 6 missed tackles throughout all of last season. It is worth noting that Derwin James remains with the Los Angeles Chargers in 2025, according to current roster details, further indicating this snippet may be misplaced as the remaining content pertains to Commanders, players, and statistics. Marshon Lattimore performance, CB number 2. Marshon Lattimore was targeted a team-high 7 times in coverage during the recent game against the Falcons, allowing 5 receptions for 82 yards and 1 touchdown. The Commanders employed zone coverage on 75.0% of snaps and single high shells on 64.3% of snaps, with Lattimore in man coverage on just 6 of his 28 coverage snaps, equating to 21.4%. He forced a tight window, defined as less than 1 yard of separation, on only 1 of his 7 targets. Additionally, Atlanta Falcons quarterback Penix Jr. completed 13 of 16 passes for 230 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Commanders in single high coverage. Bobby Wagner performance, MLB number 54. Bobby Wagner, middle linebacker, MLB number 54 for the Washington Commanders, WS, leads the team with 29 run tackles and 17 run stops through the first 4 games, without missing a single tackle against the run. In coverage, he has allowed 6 receptions for 174 yards and 1 touchdown on 8 targets, including a significant 69-yard reception by Atlanta Falcons running back RB Bijan Robinson in Week 4. Wagner has participated in 100% of the team's 251 defensive snaps this season, maintaining perfect attendance. This continues his trend from last season, where he played 98.9% of snaps, totaling 1,017, and he has missed only 11 defensive snaps since joining the Commanders at the beginning of the 2024 season. Nickel personnel usage. The Washington Commanders have utilized nickel personnel consisting of 5 defensive backs, DBS on 80.1% of snaps this season, ranking as the 6th highest rate in the NFL National Football League. Under head coach Dan Quinn, his defenses have ranked in the top 10 for nickel usage in 8 of the past 10 seasons, starting from 2016. Pass rush get-off metrics. The Commanders' defense has averaged the 4th slowest pass rush get-off time this season at 1.02 seconds. Breaking it down, edge rushers average 0.94 seconds, which is the 6th slowest in the NFL, while interior rushers average 1.11 seconds, ranking 4th slowest. These statistics underscore ongoing defensive challenges for the Washington Commanders, including potential tackling deficiencies as suggested by the possibly mismatched snippet and the sluggish pass rush, balanced against standout individual contributions such as Bobby Wagner's consistent performance against the run.